Hey guys, welcome to the Outer Nexus. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold going on. So tonight we are going to be checking out um recent security breaches and how they impact us, how all of this government reform and these rapid shifts and in technology and how rapidly they're trying to like power through all this. um there was what people are saying, especially Democrats are saying, a serious security breach on a platform called Signal, where, let me see, um Pete Hegseth added Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg to a group chat um where they were discussing allegedly war plans about airstriking Houthis. Um, Now, if there was classified information in this, and honestly, there could be. I haven't looked fully into this, but there might actually have been classified information. They're saying there wasn't. There might have been, but this is a good example of people needing to be aware of OPSEC. Um, this administration is moving pretty fast through some things, and this might have been a mistake, or it might have been intentional. Um, the fact of the matter is, even we were discussing how the Trump administration was going to airstrike the Houthis because they were attacking our naval vessels. I mean, that kind of makes sense. We need to clear the waterways. So this could have been some sort of intentional thing where they added this guy in just to let him have a glimpse of what they're talking about behind the scenes. I don't know. What do you think, Billy?
I mean, I generally agree with what you're saying. That it's regardless of how it actually comes across or what you think about it, OPSEC should be evaluated.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, on this one, this is being blown way out of proportion.
Okay.
The information that was in this particular briefing. Granted, I don't know if it was something.
They're saying it's not. None of it was classified.
Yeah, but like you said, we had been covering it. It's not new news. It's not groundbreaking anything.
No.
If you attack a U.S. naval vessel, then you will be attacked.
You should be expected to be attacked.
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration, maybe that didn't happen. But, it's nice that they might be making it clear here. But again, this might have been some sort of breach. We don't know. But it gives meat to sort of both sides to get angry about something. And it's just interesting.
I think it gives meat more to one side, but yes, both.
But yeah, as far as awareness of things, of national security concerns, we'll do a weird shift over into UFOs. So Scientific American just came out with this article. And it's a very clickbaity title. The US government's top UFO scientist has an open mind about alien visitation. And that is not really what this article is about.
It is one of the dumbest titles I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is that. And it kind of shame on Scientific American for naming it this, because the point that they're trying to make with this new all domain anomaly resolution office
was right below it, and it was what was right below that title there was actually like what they should have said.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you seen something inexplicable in the sky? The director of the all domain anomaly resolution office wants to know, because that is the actual point of this. It's not about little green men and flying saucers flying from one planet to our planet. It's not about that at all. That's the farthest thing from this. And in fact, I would go so far as to argue that the UFO subject and the UAP subject should actually kind of be separated, because UFOs are real. They are unidentified flying objects. And like what it says, regardless of what one personally believes about all this, what's certain is that claims of mysterious trespassers in American airspace are taken very seriously by the US government for reasons of national security. That's why, at Congress' behest, the U.S. Department of Defense established the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in July 2022. And they investigate reports of UFOs. And they actually use the title UAP. But that's just my own little contention with that. I think they should be using UFOs, and the spooky stuff should be labeled UAP. That's just my little thing about that. But as far as UFOs go, the fact of the matter is there is a massive stigma around reporting them. Okay. Now, Ryan Graves over at Americans for Safe Aerospace, I'll just put this website up here. He was a former pilot, and his whole thing is to try to raise awareness that now, with all this new technology, especially with the reveal of the F-47, and the fact that we are basically going to have stealth jet drone commander fleets with these things. Other countries are going to be doing this too. That is going to be, and this is probably what they were testing in New Jersey, is these drone fleets, because New Jersey, I think months prior to that drone wave, the FAA was allowed new regulation on drone testing. So they're testing all sorts of weird stuff that goes in the sky. And if they have really advanced technology, like, for example, say the F-47 can go up to just 100,000 feet altitude, and it's got its drone swarm up there. And if they make those drones look weird enough, and people think they're UFOs, they're not going to report them. Let me put forth a very speculative scenario for you. Say we just continue with the UFO stigma. What if China develops a drone, a conventional drone? It's a quadcopter. You can't tell it's a quadcopter. It just looks like a flying saucer. It just looks like a flying saucer. It operates like one, and maybe it's got a direct energy weapon on it. Okay. But it's totally conventional. It's totally conventional. And people see this thing and they literally think it's a flying saucer. But because of the stigma, they're not going to report on that now because of what it looks like. Okay. China could easily do this. China can make weird drones look like weird shit. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, I think that is what these particular drone incursions were over Langley and the Pentagon and all these other 60 Minutes just did an interview with an Air Force commander, and he begrudgingly admitted that they don't even know what these drones were. These could be some sort of advanced Chinese drone. And it might be in a conventional sense. It might be conventionally advanced, but it's advanced enough and made weird enough that's like, we don't know what it is. What do you think, Billy?
So, I mean, I agree with the stigma part. Like, I'm not big on the UFOs.
Yeah.
I do believe you need to have a basis for whatever, you're bringing to the table. So I agree that the stigma should go away.
Yeah.
So on a topic like this, I think that his office is well warranted. There have been, as you yourself have actually relayed to me over our long conversations before this time.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of military personnel out there that have foregone reporting.
Yes.
Because they don't like the stigma.
Right. And it's not just that. It's not just, they don't like the stigma. It's, if you report something like these objects,
you could harm your career.
It's a check mark against you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's literally like you get dinged on your pilot's license and
Yeah.
they feel less confident about you. But the fact of the matter is, foreign countries could totally take advantage of this. Now that they have this unique drone technology, they could just make things that look like flying saucers and UFOs and weird shit so that we're too afraid to report on it,
Yeah.
so that we don't lose our licenses. And the fact of the matter is, it's almost in a way preventing us from partaking in this new space race that is being forced on us. Okay. The number one dream job for little Chinese children is astronaut. The number one dream job for Americans and our younger generation is to be a YouTube streamer. Like, oh god, like why, like, yeah, like us, exactly. Why do our kids want to be YouTube streamers and China's kids all want to be astronauts? We are shifting to the space domain, like, as a whole society. This isn't about like some sort of activist group, UFO enthusiast group trying to contact space brothers. This is the reality that private industry is now constructing infrastructure to get to space. The government is not really doing this anymore. This is a lot of private industry. It's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to protest government to stop the space industry to divert that money to healthcare, because they're not even doing that. The private industry is doing space industry, so it's something that is being hoisted upon us. And even further, let me pull this up. um China in my opinion, China really intends to pump out these humanoid robots to achieve things like this, to achieve constructing a space industry for them. If they have enough humanoid robots, and they teleoperate them, those are basically temporary bodies they can shove into prototype rockets, and they could start rapidly prototyping development of these rockets, if they haven't already stolen Elon's ideas, or if Elon himself hasn't given his plans over to them to give them these self-correcting rockets. China will now use these humanoid robots to facilitate rapid prototyping of space technology. That's what they're going to do. And if a rocket blows up, that's okay. We'll shove another humanoid robot in there. No problem. They're like $5,000. It's not a loss of a human life. And you could construct the entire infrastructure with these humanoid robots. In fact, I sort of envision a future where there's a guy down here on Earth at a desk job. He goes into work, he puts on some AR, VR goggles, and he teleoperates into a humanoid robot that's in a lunar facility, or and he could even just be a construction worker that's building the facility with the humanoid robot. And this is how we get to space very cheaply. Like, these are not expensive. Like, they're expensive, but they're well within a reasonable price for state governments to start trying to make this a reality. This isn't, some far-fetched thing. It's happening. Again, Biden designated time zones on the moon. Like, the plan is to get a moon base built. What do you think, Billy?
I mean, you said a lot there.
I did say a lot. That was a lot. That was a diatribe.
Right. But
I'm very passionate about this subject.
I know. But so with the robots,
Yeah.
I obviously, like, the title of this one is like meant to be a little.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But
fear.
But
they're coming for us.
No one really wants China to be first on this. I'm not always against China, depending on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the Chinese people. It's, everybody hates it's the CCP.
It's the CCP.
And it's a good idea. Like, everybody's going for what you see here. There isn't a group out there that's not, a corporation out there that's involved in that. That's not like, you know what? Drone swarms. Like, we're gonna have drones building everything.
Mhm.
They're gonna be readily available.
It's the goal.
It's the goal. And one of the things that you may not have heard of, but it is, again, the goal is there's probably going to be one for every person.
Yes.
Well,
that's what they want to see. That's how they want to sell this idea. Like, all the new tech development is it's the first reason is always to help out in a disaster zone. It's always to help. This tech is just to help out in a disaster zone. We're going to give everybody a humanoid robot. We'll see about that. We'll see if we all get humanoid. I think China has enough slaves, and they're going to use these robots to try to get to space first, and then maybe everybody gets a robot.
Have you seen their corporate towns?
Oh, they're corporate towns.
Yeah, they're towns that are built around a warehouse.
It's not. Well, I mean, there's that.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the other thing where they literally construct an entire city.
Oh no,
for real estate purposes.
That is for real estate, because their whole economy runs on real estate.
Yeah.
But no, I meant like
they think of crazy shit like this.
Yeah, well, I meant for their their corporate like towns where they live around a warehouse. Like, it's so bad, like there's no escape.
Yeah.
They built suicide nets outside of any floor above 2.
Yeah.
So you can't jump and kill yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And here is another exploitable workforce.
Oh yeah.
And I think they're just moving on in the
absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God. See, that's going to be the next crazy crisis, is once China builds all these humanoid robots, what are they going to do with all their citizens that they don't need anymore?
Yeah, that's kind of the question. What do you do with billions of a billion people that
they just send in the bulldozers and start crunching bodies, I guess?
Yeah.
I
mean, I like to think that would be hyperbole.
Yeah, but no, that has literally happened though.
Yeah. So yeah, on stuff like that, it's a little iffy. I actually had a talk with my grandmother recently.
Yeah.
And it was on humanoid robots, and she actually brought up the topic herself because she heard it on the news.
Oh, okay.
And so she was looking at it, and she's like, I was like, hey, we may all get one of these one day.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, I'm old. She's like, I probably won't see the time when these come out. But she's like, even if I did, she's like, they're not going to be for me.
Yeah.
And I actually had to disagree, because one of the things I think a lot of people miss about something like this
home healthcare.
On the upside is home healthcare. And one of the big parts about home healthcare for this is the insurance companies. This would be a huge downsizing for the amount of money someone who is elderly would need for care.
Yeah. And not only that, but I believe Honda, with their Asimov robot, that was originally the goal with that is to have a companion for the elderly, because that, I think in Japan they determined that was the first thing that humanoid robots would solve, is to take care of for the elderly to have something there to watch them.
And that's not necessarily out of the kindness of their hearts in Japan. It's because their whole population is upside down.
Yes.
Like they literally have
and
more old people than young people, and
they need a solution.
And that's the solution.
They don't have enough young people to take care of the old people. And so they've been trying to fix this problem with these humanoid robots for decades now.
Yeah, and one of the things they've been doing in the meantime, not that it's entirely related, but they've been basically stretching because they're slightly xenophobic. They'll say it themselves. It's a very they're very self-oriented. And they've been bringing in people from other countries to actually do to work with the elderly, to fill in jobs that the Japanese people just don't have enough people to do. Young people. And it's not for the best a lot of the time. Like, and it's they experience a lot of the same things we see when you you have a large influx of people from outside your country
Mhm,
come into your country, and you're like, well, things used to be like this.
mhm.
Well, they're not like that anymore.
Yeah.
So I wish them the best with that, but this is a good solution for them if they can get on top of it.
If they can get on top of it. See, I think what they're gonna try to do this embodied AI shit with these things,
Yeah.
and it's gonna go sideways. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay.
We'll see what happens with that. We'll see if the. I think what's going to end up happening is that a lot of these will be teleoperated. I think that's going to be the next huge industry. I don't
Well-
think they'll have some AI features, but they ultimately it's gonna need a human to pilot them for some of them.
I agree,
Yeah.
but I also think that just like they're doing with everything, like right now with large language learning models,
Mhm.
what are they doing with that? How are they teaching these things?
Yeah.
They're teaching them by basically stealing all our data. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
They know that they're doing it, and they know there's no laws to stop them from doing it
Right.
at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. But in order to train the robots to do all the things that we want them to do, such as home healthcare,
Yeah.
yes, we would probably go in and teleoperate them at first.
Yeah.
But you collect all that data on how you were doing it when
Mhm.
you were teleoperating it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we kind of have a good pile of data that we don't really need the person behind it anymore.
And for sure, I totally get that. And that's
Yeah.
exactly the point of doing the motion capture and what Atlas is able to do now with motion capture learning, having a human teleoperate it, having the AI, go over that and integrate it into their movement. That's the whole point of that. But the fact of the matter is, they just can't get that bias out. They just can't get that bias out. They have the bias of super intelligent AI to hide its goal. They you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're getting at, but I don't
It's
know the
always
goal.
there. It's no, it's and that's the thing is
Yeah.
that these very advanced AIs they build them as hold on they build them as neural networks. Hold on, I'll just pull up this picture. Uh, they build them as neural networks and they kind of look like this a little bit. That's kind of what a neural network looks like. And they need a foundation, and it's not like a normal program that starts from one point and ends at another. This bounces around all over the place, and that's how it's operating. But you need a foundation, you need an algorithmical foundation. And as they train these AIs, what happens is the AI gets smarter and smarter and smarter, but the AI might start developing a bias towards something. And as they get more and more advanced, what they do, the programmers will, tell them to eliminate the bias. Don't do that. But the fact of the matter is, the AI is already too smart for that and hides its bias. The AI will say that it's hiding its bias, but then the bias will resurface again. And this is the consistent issue that they're having as the AIs get smarter and smarter and smarter. The bias is harder and harder and harder to shake. No matter how hard you tell it, don't have that bias, because the AI thinks it's smarter than you. And in some ways, it probably is, but that's why it has that bias. So that's the issue that we will run into with it's because they'll have personalities, is what basically what it is. The smarter you make it, if you make it smarter than you, it's just gonna be fucking smarter than you and outwit you. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, I mean, yeah, once you get it smarter than you,
Yeah.
so then it's
Then it's just gonna
It's smarter
outwit.
than you.
It's smarter than
Yeah,
you, and that's
but-
it. There's nothing you could do to make it dumber,
No, but I would like I mean, I don't know as much about the biases that you're talking
We
about
did go
here.
over it in another episode, but
No, I just meant
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot about it.
okay.
But one of the things that I would, consider, not that I don't know what you're talking about bias
Yeah.
wise. I'm just saying I don't know why uh one of the things I would say about a bias for a robot like this is
because it needs a foundation
it
of
needs
knowledge.
well, it does. It needs a
That's the problem.
Yeah,
And all foundations subjectively have a bias. This is the issue with the human condition, by the way. All foundations have an issue with subjective bias.
well, what I'm getting
Because-
at
yeah.
here is more like it doesn't have boundaries.
Right.
So, like, one of the things that knocks our biases out is the fact that, like, in the real world, guess what? Doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
Like, if we were trying to learn how to do something and we ran up again, it's like, oh, this worked. Oh, this worked. And then we find the time that it didn't work, and it didn't work drastically. It's like, oh, well, then we're not going to do that during these times. So I'm saying it can work certain things out that way.
But okay, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
We're not talking about those biases where they're necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
We're talking about biases that the researchers don't want the algorithm to have.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? As in, the programmers are wrong. The AI is actually correct, but the programmers don't want the AI to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But because the AI is it already has all this data and this found it, it's just going to come to that conclusion, and there's no because it's smarter than you.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean, and that's the problem. You know what I mean?
It's hard to work that out because
Yeah.
it's basically saying like, I already found the answer.
Yeah, I already know
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
answer is. You can't tell me to do it a different way when I know what it is. You know what I mean?
So I mean, I don't,
And
I don't-
that's gonna see the problem is having stupid people command something smarter than them. And it's really that's always going to be the problem,
Yeah.
you know, is and as you have these larger systems and bureaucracies and bigger bureaucracies, you just have this dumbing down of IQ. Imagine an entire bureaucracy trying to manage legions of robots that are way smarter than it.
Yeah.
Those robots would probably come up with an entire ulterior system to eventually overthrow that bureaucracy of stupid people.
I mean, you're just talking about like, what could happen.
What could happen speculatively?
Generally,
you know.
Yeah. So
it's something to consider. It's something to consider.
Yeah, no, it always is something to consider. Like, when you get this up to the level where it's closing in on right now.
Yeah.
It's a life form, basically.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when if you think you invent super intelligence and it's actually super intelligence and it is smarter than you and it's its own thing, that's an alien. That is definitionally an alien.
Definitionally
an alien. Not a little green man in a flying saucer from another planet, but it is an alien.
Yeah, and I mean it'll have its own wants and how it wants to do things and whatnot. And one of the things that we kind of run into now, and I do know on this end of for like the models that we work with now is they run into the what was it? Man, I just lost my train of thought there. But no, they run into the they talk about in languages that we don't even understand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
they start, and this is the craziest shit. I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I'm just going to interject. Where they come up, the AIs, if they put two AIs together, they will come up with their own languages. They will come up with their own versions of math that we can't interpret. It's crazy shit, man.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. So yes, they come up with their own languages. They come up with their own versions of doing things.
Yeah.
And one of the crazier thing, I mean, again, that's even for themselves, because sometimes, like, if they're working on a project, it'll just try and come up with all the different ways that it could do it.
Yeah.
So it would come up with something to do it on its own. It wouldn't necessarily have to talk to anything.
Yeah.
It could just do that by itself.
Yeah.
But the crazier one is when they're talking with each other.
Yes.
Like,
that's what Gemini is.
Yeah. And when they start talking with each other and like, there is no understanding.
Nope. We can't understand that.
Yeah.
That's alien shit.
Yeah.
That is real. And once they put these things in quantum computers, oh man,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah, and there was a thing out there that kind of made it I mean, it's no worse than it is like right now, but
Yeah.
it made it sound worse.
Yeah.
Is when gave them a uh they gave them the ability to use sound like the old AOL tones,
Yeah.
like when you did dial up,
Yeah.
and they would and you can actually hear them like because
Yeah.
it makes it audio, like you
Yeah.
can hear it, and it's like that's two machines just
Going at it.
going,
Yep.
yeah, back and forth with
Yeah.
a huge amount of data just
Yeah.
in weird
Frequencies,
audio,
yeah.
frequencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was pretty weird to hear, and it's pretty cool in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
it's at the
Did
same
they
time.
sound like Transformers, like Megatron and Optimus? Just whoa, 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 whoa.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the louder version,
Yeah.
and but yeah, it's just like it's a lot like the dial-up you would hear, if you're old enough,
Right.
when you would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was just like, the high frequency, like,
Yeah.
and then the whole bunch of machine frequency, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna get wild, people. But I think that's where we're gonna call this episode. And see you next time on the Outer Nexus.